Hey guys, Vista Tango here with your TLCW snapshot of clinical psychologist Jordan B. Peterson's condition as of midsummer 2020.
It's really nice to be doing a family update with you rather than about you.
This, of course, has been a trying year for all of us. And, in an interview with his daughter, Mikhaila, Dr. Peterson makes his first YouTube appearance since abruptly stepping out of the public eye due to personal reasons back in early fall 2019. In the near hour-long discussion, Peterson details the manifold troubles he and his family found themselves in since January of that year and beyond, leading to his ongoing treatment in a medical facility in Belgrade, Serbia, as of summer 2020. Despite maintaining an online presence via Twitter and Instagram throughout his sudden absence, little to no direct mention was made of the specifics by Peterson himself. News of his condition only came by way of brief updates provided by his daughter via introductions on her father's podcast, posting older lectures, as well as via YouTube. Mikhaila, who herself hosts a podcast, welcomed her father on as a guest in June 30th, 2020, to discuss his condition and the events of the past few months directly. In what was truly another time, Peterson gained notoriety in early 2016 via a foray into Canadian politics and speech debate. A University of Toronto professor, Peterson also maintained a private practice in the city working as a clinical psychologist. He soon began travelling broadly on lectureship tours, giving interviews across various mediums and amassing a large subscriber base on YouTube before releasing his second book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. The 2018 tome, which elevated Peterson further into the limelight, garnered him more devotees and detractors alike in its discussions of topics ranging from Jungian archetypes to Taoist proverbial wisdom. Each of Peterson's 12 rules, presented as aphoristic advice, incorporate everything from evolutionary biology to Nietzschean philosophy, all with heavy reliance on the wisdom to be gleaned from both the Hebrew and Christian Bibles respectively, albeit largely from an archetypal, irreligious point of view. The success of the book, which led Peterson to step away from both his teaching post and private practice, placed him ever more squarely in the area of self-styled, self-help guru. Such a status, however, only served to exacerbate concerns arising from fan and non-fan alike when his daughter, Mikhaila, and wife, Tammy, posted a video in mid-September 2019 stating that Peterson had been in rehab in the United States for a chemical dependency of benzodiazepines, psychoactive tranquilizers, more commonly known by their pharmaceutical names such as Valium or Xanax, drugs largely prescribed for anxiety and depression. The health of both his wife, who had been battling collecting duct carcinoma, a near-fatal form of cancer, and his daughter, who had long been suffering from juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, both led to increased anxiety and stress. But Peterson revealed he hadn't begun taking benzodiazepines, or benzos, till the winter of 2016, following what he classified as a sodium metabisulfite allergy to something he'd eaten. With the stage set, Peterson and his daughter recount the chronology of events from there on in the podcast, filmed as well for YouTube.
I was freezing cold for about a month. I couldn't get warm no matter how much I wore. I couldn't stand up without fainting. I couldn't sleep.
The severity of his symptoms led a doctor to prescribe him benzos as sleep aids, but also to help Peterson cope with his heightened anxiety.
Well, when your mom got so sick, my anxiety levels had been climbing up again.
Peterson details that the opposite, however, occurred.
And in retrospect, it seems like I had a rather uncommon but not unheard of reaction to benzodiazepines, where increased dose makes anxiety worse instead of better.
The drugs not only failed to help, they accentuated the underlying anxiety and caused other iatrogenic side effects as well. Peterson soon attempted to cease using the benzos altogether.
I started tapering off when Tammy was in the hospital, but I couldn't push that too fast because it wasn't bearable.
And what do you mean it wasn't
bearable?
Well,
my anxiety levels went higher than anything I'd ever experienced.
Further attempts to wean himself off his medication led to other problems, including what Peterson details as akathisia.
The best way I can describe that is that it was like being jabbed with something, like with a prod, like a cattle prod, something electric or something sharp, non-stop for hours, for all the hours I was awake. It was absolutely, I couldn't sit or lay down or stop moving. And even if I did get up and move, it wasn't like that made it better. I just couldn't stop doing it. It was horrible. Akathisia is horrible.
Defined by the Mayo Clinic as, quote, a feeling of muscle quivering, restlessness, and inability to sit still, sometimes a side effect of antipsychotic or antidepressant medication. All such side effects and additional symptoms led Peterson to discover that deep chemical dependency had occurred with his use of benzodiazepines.
We didn't realize that there was this physical dependency until you stopped to try and do the ketamine. And then we tried tapering and you couldn't stand it because of the akathisia. And so we thought, well, let's go get some professional help.
According to the United States National Institute of Drug Abuse, there is a difference between dependency and addiction. According to a May 2020 N.I.D.A. article, quote, addiction, or compulsive drug use despite harmful consequences, is characterized by an inability to stop using a drug, failure to meet work, social, or family obligations, and, sometimes, depending on the drug, tolerance and withdrawal. Physical dependence can happen with the chronic use of many drugs, including many prescription drugs, even if taken as instructed. Thus, physical dependence in and of itself does not constitute addiction, but it often accompanies addiction. The distinction can be difficult to discern. Dr. John N.I.D.A, writing in a March 2020 article for Psychology Today, adds, quote, the topic itself is inherently complicated and confusing, and it's situated in the context of an evolving medical and cultural milieu. The distinction between addiction and dependence is not trivial. Medical professionals are ethically required to get the diagnosis right so that they can get the treatment right. However, given Dr. Peterson's métier, questions immediately arose regarding the nature of addiction and differences in addiction and chemical dependency.
Lots of people aren't aware of the difference between psychological and physical
Yeah, and that's
dependence.
basically the difference between abuse and dependence.
Yeah, and physical withdrawals means your body gets used to the drug that you're on, and when you take it away, it's as if your body's missing something.
Yes.
So with
and that's what I had with benzodiazepines.
We got questions about, why on earth would you go to Russia when you could get, world-class care in North America? And the reason for that was because we had tried the Ashton protocol. Switching over to Valium, we tried the Ashton protocol, and lots of people have success with that, although it sounds horrible.
And lots of people don't have success with it.
Yeah, I put out the first family update we did was when you went to the first rehab center in the States. And after I put that out and said, this is what's going on, I had hundreds, if not thousands of people respond, telling me how horrible benzodiazepine withdrawal could be, how they couldn't work, how they were pacing around their backyards for a year. And they basically said, just keep them alive.
It's one thing to express your condolences if you're discussing someone who, like my wife, is suffering from something clearly that's clearly not of her making, cancer, for example. But a dependence is more ethically questionable, right? Because you think, well, everyone thinks, well, what did the person obviously made some errors in choice that contributed to this. And that's a reasonable objection, and despite the fact that there are many people who found that their opinions didn't align with mine, let's say, the proportion of negative comments I got about what I was going through was very small. So that was really something. But nonetheless, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was the fact that, what's the old saying, physician heal thyself, right? I wrote a self-help book. I'm a psychologist. It's like, well, why the hell didn't I see this coming? And why wasn't I more cautious? And I think those are reasonable questions.
Why should people take advice?
And then that's the next question is, why should people take anything I say seriously?
Peterson addresses such questions and concerns head on.
I guess what I would say is, if you're going to wait to learn from people who don't make mistakes, or don't have tragedy enter their life, you're going to spend a long time waiting to learn something. And the second thing I would say is, in my lectures and my writings, I've never suggested that I was anything other than one of the people who also needed to learn these lessons. So I included myself in the population of people who needed some moral improvement. And then the last thing would be, you have to make the decision about whether or not to attend to anything that I'm doing based on your own judgment about what I've done and said. And if you find that that's not convincing, then that's your prerogative. And if you find that it's useful, then, well, I'm delighted by that, obviously.
Additionally, he is open and honest with the nature of his depression.
Because, well, with severe depression, you lose positive emotion and gain a lot of negative emotion. But with this akathisia, it was like all of the negative emotion associated with depression, plus a very high level of anxiety, plus no positive emotion at all, plus the inability to ever relax, even for a moment.
But you also went to a psychiatrist to
Yes.
deal with your worsening anxiety that you thought was mainly attributed to mom's cancer. And his suggestion was try ketamine and stop the benzodiazepines.
Right.
So that was the first psychiatrist we tried.
Yes.
Right. And we saw at least 5 of them in different areas before we got to Russia. So
Yes.
it's not like we didn't give North America a good try. It's just, you ended up, you got worse and worse and worse.
Well, what the
and then-
psychiatrists there generally insisted on doing was, quote, treating the underlying problem,
Yeah.
end quote, when the underlying problem was benzodiazepine withdrawal, not some other issue.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do with benzodiazepine withdrawal, so they tried to treat something they did know what to do with that didn't exist.
Peterson and his family made the unorthodox choice of seeking a detox program in Russia, which placed him in a medically induced coma. Next, Peterson and his family relocated to Florida for further recovery, just as the world was entering the depths of the COVID-19 pandemic. The efficacy of the treatment in Russia was uncertain, as in Florida.
We went to Florida, where we thought it would be sunny and
easier
to recover, which
Yeah,
it might
and-
have been, but when I was in Florida, my anxiety levels were, I wasn't akathisic most of the time, but my anxiety levels were unbearably high. And that finally got so bad that I had family members there who were taking care of me. You were there, of course, and Andre, but also my parents, my sister, some friends. Tammy came for a while. My son came for a while. But it got to the point where it was obvious that just the care of family members, no matter how well-intentioned, A, wouldn't be sufficient, and B, was just too much to ask of people.
As of the midsummer taping of his interview with his daughter, Peterson reveals that almost all of his symptoms have gone thanks to the clinic he is currently at, run by an anesthesiologist in Belgrade, Serbia.
I can't understand it, but virtually all my symptoms have disappeared. I'm still weak if I get up and walk around. I don't have my stamina, but I can think clearly.
Moving forward, the author, professor, and psychologist is cautiously optimistic.
And I don't know if I'm out of it or not. I have a hard time believing how much better I feel than I did 2 weeks ago. It doesn't seem plausible. So, it's possible that things will just deteriorate for me again, although I don't feel like that at the moment. I feel like things are put back together in an important way.
The interview concludes with Peterson expressing his thankfulness to his friends and family, as well as his gratitude for all the well wishes from strangers.
People have gone far beyond the call of duty to help me and Tammy and I in the last year and a half. And there's been an unbelievably massive outpouring of public support.
As Jordan Peterson continues his treatment in Serbia, he remains hopeful of his continued recovery.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with me.
Well, thanks for being here. It's been a hell of a year.
Thanks for your help, too.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to give up. And now we're in Belgrade and seem to have found an answer. Thank God.
Please be sure to subscribe, share, comment, and like. And thank you all for watching.